There has been a lot of reactions to the poor performance of candidates in the just concluded um, JAM examination. You see, I'm not surprised. Personally, I'm not surprised about the situation, and a lot of people are attributing it to the time schedule for the examinations, complaining about the exam that was scheduled for 6:30 a.m. And some of these parents, surprising thing is that some of these parents leave as early as 5 a.m., 4:30 a.m. to their places of work. I know that we are dealing with children, and I am not, laying any blame to any parents. They have that's their opinion anyway, and they might not be totally wrong from it. But I think there's another situation, and it could be another excuse, another problem that is even more weighty than what they are thinking. It's not about the time schedule, because okay, let's look at it from this angle. They say about 75% of the candidates score below 200 marks. Are you telling me that over 75% of candidates who wrote this exam, there is time was scheduled for 6:30? That might not be the excuse. If we concentrate on this aspect, I'm a parent as well. If you concentrate on that as an excuse, we might miss the point, and we are not definitely not going to get the real solution to this problem. And I always take time to interface with students, not just those who are writing jams, but even in secondary, both secondary and tertiary institutions, to see how they are faring. When they come back from school, take out time to ask them questions to know about things. There's this particular problem that we have not dealt with. Sometimes, consciously or unconsciously, we as parents will support it. But we don't even know that we are creating problems for our children. And that is the issue of past questions. Past questions, revision of past questions is a major problem that is bringing our educational standard, lowering our educational standard. It is destroying our educational standard that we may not even realize it. And this problem is not peculiar to JAM students. It is not peculiar to JAM candidates. Find out from your students or your children in tertiary institutions when it is time for tests or examinations. Sometimes some of them they call it AOC, area of concentration. They ask lecturers for areas of concentration, and when area of concentration is being given to a student, what do you think will happen? They abandon every other aspect of their note to concentrate only those one. That's why they call it area of concentration. But that one is just by the way. Right, even in tertiary institution, this issue of past questions is reigning. That is what parents may not know because they don't follow their children into school, and some of them don't come back with such information. They don't tell them. They don't let them know what is happening there. And there are some of them who are so good that sometimes they take out their time to study the pattern that the lecturers say those questions, because there are some lecturers that have become so lazy that they don't set new questions. They don't set fresh questions. That is what I mean. They keep recycling old questions, past questions. And so students go to school during the exams. When it is close to exam, even in tertiary institution, you see what is happening. You see them scrambling for past questions. What are they doing with the past questions? They only want to know where they narrow their concentration to. That's what is happening. And that is what has happened into this candidate that wrote this exam. That is why we have this mass failure. If you have not known this, we have not discovered something like this, find out from your student. Because like now, I have not even seen the statistics, I have not even gone deep into it, but I'm telling you this for the fact that those who perform very well are those who read, who prepared randomly. That is one aspect of it. The second aspect of people who, or students who, or candidates that will perform better in this exam are those fresh graduates from secondary school. Yeah, those who just completed their SSCE or their secondary school level, who maybe have not been at home, have not sat for the exam in the past years, they are still fresh. So whatever thing that is taught in their secondary school will be an advantage to them. But those who have written jam before, who have finished their secondary school and have been at home about a year, 2 or 3 years ago, they are the ones that this thing will affect most. Because some of them attended lessons. There's no doubt about that one. But what were they being taught in those lesson centers? What they do in lesson centers in some places is revision of past questions. Everything has been reduced. They don't think about the syllabus. They don't read randomly. They don't read. They narrow everything to past questions, revision of past questions. And remember that before the exams, there was this speculation, there was this announcement that jamb has changed the syllabus. And that is why we have this. Now, what happened now is that the questions that are set, that the last questions that jamb set, were out of the scope. We are not from the past questions, the ones they've been done before the exam. If you did not hear it from your child, from your candidate, or people around you, probably you do not ask. There are people, candidates, who were even told where to concentrate, where the past questions to concentrate. Somebody will tell them, maybe read from the past questions of 2018 to 2021, past questions of 2018 to 20 or 2014 to 2018. Talks like this were being passed on. That is the kind of information that was given, and people concentrated on this. Some will tell you 2014 or 2020 to 20. Those are the kind of information, the areas that candidates were being made to concentrate, and they did not read outside that scope. So when he came back, I interfered with some candidates I have in my neighborhood. When they came back from there, I asked them some of the questions. Asked them questions based on what was said, and I asked also, how many of those questions appear in the past questions that you read? It told me nothing. What I'm telling you here, I didn't get it from one candidate. I didn't get from two candidates, many. And I knew that there was going to be a problem in the results. I told them that the result, jamb performance this year was going to be poorer than what happened last year. That was what I said. So this result is not strange to me. I already knew that it was going to be a problem because over time I have taken, put enough resources to study to see what students we are doing, candidates we are doing. They don't read randomly. They don't read wide. They are skewed. Narrow everything to past questions. They revise past questions. And so when questions are being said outside the past questions that they concentrated on, what do you think will happen? You are a parent. You've been to school before and you know it. So you can't give what you don't have. Where they did not read, questions are set from there. How will they pass? But that doesn't mean that jamb state questions outside the syllabus. They didn't state questions outside the syllabus. Whatever thing they did, that's why I say those who are fresh from the secondary school may not have much problem about this, those that read, because questions were set from their syllabus. Those things that they did in secondary school. There was a candidate that told me that it is the knowledge of what they did in secondary school that helped her to write. Yes, it is a few things that she could remember that she wrote, but everything she did, she attended lesson. She wrote jamb last year. So this year, didn't go back to the formal school to enroll for a lesson. She went somewhere else to do the lesson because in the school they told them that the lesson they were doing, it was only for SSC candidates, those who were preparing for WAEC. That's the kind of lesson they were preparing for them, not those who are preparing for jamb. And she went to a different place, different center, where they were only concentrating on people who are preparing for a jamb. And what were they doing there? Most of the things we are doing there is just revision of past questions, just like I said. And I still ask one or two questions. How many questions came out from the area that you were taught during the lesson? Say none. Nothing came out. So even lesson centers also are not helping matters. So I want us as parents to disabuse our mind about the issue of time schedule, time this, time that. That could be a factor. And I want to use this opportunity to also to sympathize with any candidate that had issues with security situation during that period. I'm not ruling that out. You have your own opinion. But I want us to dig deeper, to look deeper into this problem. If you want solution, if you want our children, a better future for our children, we should begin to know, let us know what the problem is, because you can't solve a problem. You can't solve any problem without knowing, or you can't provide any solution without knowing the problem. The first step for you to do if you want to provide or to correct anything in the society is for you to identify the problem. So if you do a wrong diagnosis, your prescription also will be wrong. If we continue to concentrate on this thing, talking about only the time and not the real problem, then what solution are we going to offer as parents? Please think about what I'm saying here. Think wider than what you are saying, and ask questions as well. I want you to go back, find out from your children what happened, what transpired, what was their concentration like. Where were they concentrating? Was it on the past questions? Did they read randomly outside the past questions? So that you guide them. Even if they are not able to get admission this time around, you prepare them. Give them that hope. Encourage them to have a better preparation so that subsequent ones will not be a problem. But if we continue to heap the blame on jamb, to me, jamb has not done anything wrong. Jamb, a part issue of that question, but we can talk about the adjustment in time anyway. You can adjust the brain, because I don't want to use only my own area as an example. It depends, because when parents are complaining, they complain because of the complex nature of where they live and possibly the proximity to exam center. So I do not want to be selfish in this situation. They can still bring that matter up, but about the issue of questions, I want us to look deeply into it as well, and then encourage our children to read widely. Forget about the past question. And let me tell you this: some of the students, some of the students from that even graduated with first degree, first this, that, or maybe first class, some of them survived on this. I say some, just listen to me before you crucify me. I say some of them, because it is the issue of past questions. It's not as if they get these past questions, it's not as if they don't know it, but the revise is only the past questions they revise. So when your revision is based on past questions, and if questions are being set from there, because questions are being repeated, please, before you reject what I'm saying here, before you crucify me, if you have students in tertiary institution, find out from them what is happening. Colleges of education, polytechnic, university, find out what is happening. During examination, find out whether students are always, going for simply for past questions on. If you are always going for past questions, what is the need for that? Why? Because some lecturers are fond of that. When it's time for exam, they don't set fresh questions. They don't set new questions. They only repeat the past questions. And so students that have access to these past questions, that revise those past questions, they perform even better than students who are better off than them academically. Who have always, that is why you see sometimes, even in class, during lecture, there are some students that you see them very brilliant. But when it's come to exams, those that you saw to be maybe not up to the standard of the other ones, we may even perform better than those other ones, because they had access to those past questions, concentrated on them, and they were able to maybe either cram what is there. So in the exam hall, it's a matter of writing what they've read or what they have crammed, and that is how they sometimes come out with that high grade. I say some, not all. So do not condemn me for this. And before you do that,